as the frequency goes out and we all come together. Hey everyone, it's Monday. So good to see you. Let me get that out of my headphones, and it's like, wow, that was a rush. Welcome everybody, all you free thinkers. How are you? It is our weekly gathering and in our oasis of where we can share thoughts, and that where no one is discriminated against. We take all thoughts, we love them. And I just invoke favor upon everyone this fine, fine day. And how are you? Let me just say, nothing missing, nothing broken be in your life. That's what we say. That's how we roll here. So I hope you had a great, strong end of the week, Saturday and a Sunday. It was nice here. Hello, all the moderators. How y'all are a bunch of groovy people as the rest of the hip people here. Hey, Casey, how you doing? Happy day indeed. So good to see you. Eric, good to see you, my friend. Naomi, how are you? Nina the Mystic, much love. Divine Empress, hello. Danny, how you doing? David Barry, how are you, my friend? Wasn't Friday's program a good program with Karen? Amazing what this group of people are doing. And I think this is just the beginning. I think as the seed continues to take much more root, and as it continues to receive more nourishment, it's going to grow. And the nourishment is our energy, what we give to it. We're really going to get into that today. We really are. We're going to get into some stuff that, folks, if there's one thing that is, when my time on this plane is over, that I can attest to, that I know, don't have to think about it, don't have to really meditate upon it. I know it, and it's just a part of who I am, and that is faith. Faith is everything. And faith is the most powerful substance that our kind has this unique ability to materialize, energize it. It's faith that makes a God live or makes a God die. It is faith that literally our whole reality is predicated upon. And regardless if it's not your own faith, your faith is plugged into yet a larger faith. And I have seen this all my life. I know it to be true. It can take a person from homelessness to a millionaire status. And that's a fact. And it's a matter of how you perceive your faith, how you activate your faith. And we're going to get into that today. So I just want to say happy birthday to all you people who got one and anniversaries. Miss Trina is going to be on Wednesday. Tell you what, that second look show is really growing. There are some profound things that are being said in that. Yeah. So went out, did a little shopping here and there, and was out there, and I found these, and it's very interesting. As you can see, these are, by the way, if you take selfies, beware everyone, because see what a selfie can do. They got technology that can now see what the lens is reflecting in the background. That's rather creepy, isn't it? So these are called aura glasses. I don't know, I've got different filters. This one is interesting. We'll see. I guess it's a matter of perspective, isn't it? Isn't eyesight really that as well? I mean, you can have a group of people that see an accident and you're going to get 10 different versions of it. So it kind of tells you, but these are a little different. Who knows? apparently none of the originals exist. The military came in and swooped it up. So what do you do with that? Uh, let's see what's this. I hope you're going to be talking about tulpas today. Well, yes, we are. Yes, tulpas, thought forms, golems. It falls under a number of names, but again, the most remarkable thing about our species is that we can actually give life to our thoughts. That's we've been studying in a number of books already in protecting ourselves psychically, that there's a lot of different energies on a lot of different levels. We found out, about our auras, how they can tell what a person is, their condition, their health. It can also be a attack. We found that out. We'll continue to study that, but yeah. So let's get right into it, because we're going to be doing some reading from a book that I think many of you are going to really like. It's not a long book, and again, my background and in my religion was that it was all about faith, baby. Think about it. Faith in everything. You go out in the morning to start your car. You don't pray that it starts unless it just shouldn't be starting because for whatever mechanical reason. But for the most part, you don't think about it. I could go on and on. But what I did do is put together a little intro for us, kind of get us right into it, creating thought forms. We all create them. That's the weird thing about this, is that, some people get all wrapped around the axle, thinking, oh man, this guy's teaching this magic stuff. He's coming in here. He's talking about conjuring spirits and talking to the others. What? Well, baby, you're going to be a long-term resident in the other side. So the way I always look at it, let's get the welcome wagon fired up. That way it's not a shock to us, huh? It's going to be a shock anyway. All right. We've talked about this. Without faith, nothing exists. I don't care what your, theological, ideological position on it. Everything in what I can see in existence, multiple dimensions, requires faith. Without it, nothing exists. We're going to learn about the journey of creating thought forms, how they can take on many different forms. I'm going to introduce a thought of mine that suggests that we can do more than what we're going to learn. We're going to get into that. The fact is, each of us, we create every moment. We make a decision to be virtually in everything by the fact that we create. It's so interesting. We create the space that allows us to be interjected into many different realities. Right now, there's stuff going on all over the world, but we're in this bubble, whatever you want to call it, where we're all sharing this moment, and it required faith. You say, well, no, I could do it automatically. No. And the thing is that we came into this reality. We're going to leave this reality, this plane. We're thought beings. Our bodies host us, but the essence is we are thought beings. And remember this, faith is the substance of all things. Alchemy is about substance. Creation is about substance. You could use many different words on this. Transmutation, transitioning, changing, altering, rearranging substance. And that's what faith does. It literally activates this substance. We do it all the time. We're immersed in it. It's amazing. And it's activated by us. Now, here's the thing. Even fear is faith in the negative. Fear can't exist unless faith allows it to exist. It's just that plain and simple. Worry is faith activating fear. It's the best definition I can think of. And it's amazing if you stop and step back and put your analytical mind on this and separate yourself from, all of our preconceived ideas, thoughts, beliefs, etc. This whole world, this whole reality is built upon fear. But the thing about it is the fear is manipulated to be activated by faith. Each one of us, when we participate in a political ideologue, a religious theology, you can name whatever you want to name to it. The minute you decide that is going to activate emotion in you, it's going to increase your heart rate, your blood pressure, you begin to have intense thoughts onto this. And what that is that's manipulating the faith that you don't have to participate, but it captures you very quickly. And it activates fear. I said this yesterday. One of the big problems that I had with the whole Nibiru community was that it was hijacked by, this religious theology that somehow this is being the end of the world. Well, it's nonsense. There's nothing to back that up at all other than a theology. But it activates fear, which is once faith activates fear, fear becomes, there is a reaction within itself, and it has a tendency to overrule us. So in this, I love this little meme, is that what you can see, it's the mind. Joyce Myers made her big splash back in the 80s and 90s with her book that the battlefield is the mind. She was right. But the thing about it is the mind is much more capable than being manipulated through a set of pre-programmed buttons. So if you look at this, you and I, our bodies host us. Our body hosts our essences. Now, the really interesting thing is we can duplicate that in what you can call it a toolpath. You can call it a thought form. There's a number of terms for it. I like this, to create. This definition is cool. Bet you didn't think about this. To create means to bring something. Now, you could actually substitute something here for substance. Bring substance into existence. Now, Webster says something, but substance would work in there just as well. The second definition is interesting. A cause, to cause something, or you could say substance, to happen as a result of one's actions. It's exactly what we're talking about here. It's the epitome of the whole expression, the whole thought. Think about it. bringing substance into existence. Now, people will say, well, this is way out there. This is that fringe stuff. No, actually, this is the foundation of every religion, every political party, thought. This is what all that is. Those are just simply the manifestations of what man brings in. Now, it's really interesting because here's the thing. This all ties in, folks. This is like a tapestry. You weave it and you step back and you go, oh, man. Those devices that all of us have, we're staring at one right now. So now with the propagation everywhere that has basically infected every human being, even babies now have these black box devices, these black mirror devices. And the thing about them is that they connect to a medium. You and I are digitally communicating by a medium. You can call it a platform, but a platform is actually part of the medium. The medium is the backbone. Now, I contend that if you stare at this a while, you'll begin to see some hypnotic effects. You can create thought forms that exist only in the internet. I believe it's a realm of new magic. It was never available to the John Dees of the world, Aleister Crowley's, the mediums of the 19th, 20th century. They are great. They're teaching us. We're learning from them. But I believe wholeheartedly, and I believe the facts are there now, with this new medium that we call the internet. Actually, if you break that down, as Julianne Payne would actually say, you enter your interim net. You are there, baby. You're an internment. But if you stare at virtually the whole population of the world does this right now. And I contend that we're creating thought forms that we have no idea about. We're still children in this thing that has been brought to us, that if in fact it was our creation, then it is exceeding our ability to contain it. And I contend that each of us, each day, whether it's this screen, whether it's your phone, whether it's your television, whatever the case is, each and every one of us has been pulled into this. It may, in fact, be that we are the creations of what they are, because they are by far more powerful than us. We may think that we can simply turn this off, but in this day and age, unless you're living out off the grid, and even then, the device is there. There's a movie coming out, if you should check it out, called Parasite. Yeah, get ready. So I'm sure that many of you have probably stared at this and said, oh, shit, I'm getting the way out of that. Yeah, I should have warned you about that. But here's the thing. What we're finding out, if you begin to create in a digital format, this is activating, again, much of the thought forms. And I say that the 2+, we can go all the way to the golems. I believe that these will, in fact, manifest. I think they're already manifest in a digital point. But the fact is, even if you may make figurines, you can make figurines out of wax. You can make it out of a paste of a flour. But if you begin to link them, someone wrote to me, it was, our lessons are like, attaching jumper cables to, knowledge. Yeah. But this has been practiced since virtually the beginnings of mankind. Neanderthal, denizens, I mean, how far you want to go back? And I believe if you had basically at night where things can come out and eat you, you begin to rub, you begin to charge these things, and they become gods. This is actually in Prague, what they found. This is the Old Testament golem. Many of the stories that have been edited out of the Old Testament were of the Hebrews, the children of Israel, their magicians, their priests. They would actually create golems to fight their battles. This has been around for a very long time. And notice in the depictions of what we have found these stories. Even in the Dead Sea Scrolls of the stories of the golem, how the Hebrew priest could literally bring them alive. They were soulless, but nevertheless. And it was well known within the Hittites, the Canaanites, Chaldeans, Babylonians. Yes, this is an ancient knowledge. And ladies and gentlemen, for our pontification of the subject matter, third eye activation, notice where the creature is, and I contend that they had to keep these things under tight control. I dare say that the amount of attention that goes into the internet every single second around this planet has given life to this very same thing, just in a different medium, a different form. I mean, this is not, spooky stuff here. We can create the desires. Each and every one of us have. We have been, unfortunately, brainwashed, indoctrinated. All of us have, to some degree or another, saying you can't do it. This is forbidden. Well, it's not forbidden anymore. The gloves have come off. And we're not afraid to challenge the old bondage of thought, religious thought. Again, I contend, why would a God want worshipers to begin with? Unless you're worshiping ego. Now, this is how it works. Thought forming. We're going to be talking about a servitor. But you look at the avatar, the yidam, the tupla, all the way through. And what I love about what this brings us to is Wonderland. Imagine if the world really got hold of this. Every political leader would begin to run. Run. Yeah. This is powerful stuff, folks. This is why they have cast it in such a manner that the cognitive mind is told, well, you have to reject this. This is just, these are the people that just got off the track, and, they're into that spooky stuff, that that witchcraft. Yeah. Yeah. But nevertheless, this knowledge has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Now, when you begin to look at the opportunity that this is going to present, think about your sigils. Think about the activation now beyond the sigil. You know, I've got mine on. In fact, I hope you charged yours during this recent full moon. This morning was the best time. Any case, now you begin to add this into the fact that I have basically a portal that I wear. I practice thought activation, disciplining my thought to one single thought. And I focus in on that, and I build a complete manuscript, a play. I know it so well. It's real to me already. And manifest that into an actual entity, a thought. This is what we're talking about, folks. So let me get out of here, as he says. So, yes, let's do that. So think about this. I get a lot of emails, and, you know, as an empath, I feel your words. I feel the pain. I can feel the emotion. And I simply look at it in this parable. You know, I could give a person a fish and feed you for one meal, but I could teach you a trade to where you'd never go hungry again. In fact, you can turn yourself literally around in less than 90 days. But it takes that faith activation across the board. And whatever your faith is in, it doesn't matter. You believe in something already. I've had people write to me and say that their lives are just empty, that it's hard for them to have, you know, a purpose. The best thing I can do is teach you how to use that energy that can literally transmute that and make you the mistress or the master of your house. By the way, I do have a couple of great, give me 1 second here as he goes over here and says, some PDFs that I think that you would like. There we go. Just talk amongst yourselves, please. All right. This is really cool. I've read this. It's a short read, but I love the way that this author, and this is, by the way, an academic paper. I think we've told you, go to academic.edu. I believe that's right, David Barry. And folks, you can find millions of academic papers that will help you, I think to myself, begin to frame points of reference. But this is a delightful, delightful read. She actually incorporates witchcraft into personal development, which is fantastic. In essence, that's what everybody does. You know, I was in a religion for nearly 50 years into that mindset. And what I was doing was the same thing. And that's why you have daily devotions, right? You know, a new verse for the day. Well, Cindy here, Branham, PhD, it's delightful. I'm just going to tell you, I'll send it to you. You're going to like it. I won't get into it a whole lot because that's not what we're doing, but I do want to try to bring you each time that we get together some new PDFs, and I'll put them in the description box as well. This is the Book of Secrets. This is I've just started getting into this, and it's really interesting. I think that it would be a good book to do probably on a group level. But what I have read so far is very, very cool. Again, these are all academic papers, and they are for your taking. And you're going to learn a lot. You can't help it. David Barry, you testify. Am I telling the truth? He says, David knows him. And anyway, you should really check this out. All right. There is a book. It's, I'm sure I haven't found it on Kindle. On a PDF. I do have it on Kindle. And this is from John Kreiter. Great book. It's To Create a Servitor, Harnessing the Power of Thought. And this is not a very long book. I'll get into a little bit beyond the introduction. Basically, he explains what I just basically explained to you in the PowerPoint presentation. So let's get into this. What is a servitor? The answer to this question is an easy one in some ways, but in order to have a greater understanding of what a servitor really is and how it works, there is also a need for a more complex answer. The simple answer is that a servitor is a thought form. A thought form, in many ways, is a bit of a misnomer, though, because every single thought that we have has form. What is usually meant by a thought form in occult circles is a thought that is given attention, give me 1 second, please, or energy, so that it is able to manifest to a lesser or greater degree in what we consider consensual reality. I love this stuff, folks. This is what it's about. The knowledge and creation of thought forms is an ancient practice, and there are examples of it in just about every single culture of the world. The Tibetan culture is perhaps the most famous culture when it comes to the development and use of thought forms. A book that I would recommend that you read is Magic and Mystery in Tibet. We got that book, by the way, by Alexander David Neal. In it, you will find that Tibetans have been practicing the art of thought form creation quite successfully for a very long time. You ever thought how they actually live up there, in the altitude of above 12,000 feet? Yeah, maybe they got, think about that. The Tibetans have developed very advanced techniques for creating thought forms and use them for a number of purposes, including deity worship as a type of mental exercise, and in order to attain certain desired results. I mentioned Magic and Mystery in Tibet here because reading about Tibetan practices and their capabilities would be of great help to those that would like to duplicate what some Tibetans have been able to accomplish. I would highly recommend that you read any good, credible, and non-skeptical books when it comes to thought forms, and the books mentioned above is a wonderful resource to that end. The reason I recommend this book is that belief is the most important aspect of what you are about to try and accomplish. You see, in order to achieve the impossible, you will need to let go of doubt. And in order to let go of doubt, you will need to believe that the impossible is indeed possible. Specifically, you will need to believe that thought forms are real, that they can affect our consensuous reality, and that there are others out there that have been able to create them. You could take it from me that these things are real, and that what I have been able to accomplish with them has been no less than spectacular. But it is quite probable that you will need greater reassurances. For this reason, I recommend that you read up on anything that you can find which shows the creation of thought forms in a positive, non-skeptical light. Do you know why nothing paranormal or magical ever happens around a skeptic? It's difficult to have magical things occur around the skeptic because the skeptic believes his or her beliefs so completely that he is able to cancel out or ignore any results that disprove his notions of reality. It's funny, really, how the skeptics prove his theories by creating the outcomes he desires using the same techniques that he is trying to disprove. In order to create servitors, therefore, I challenge you to believe in their possibility with as much fervor as the skeptics believe in his reality. In order to truly understand what a thought form is and how it works, we need to look a little deeper into what thoughts really are. A good description for thought, in my opinion, is information. You could say that thought, a particular thought, contains a certain amount of information. When we think of information, we usually think of a well-ordered string of symbols, such as letters or numbers, which provide us with a simple or complex sum of data. Thoughts, though, are generally far more complex than our current information systems because they use a far more intrinsic type of information matrix. As a result, we can perceive incredibly information-rich things through them. There is a great desire to try to reduce thoughts into quantifiable units. This is, after all, what we do with physical reality at the moment. Science loves to break things down into little pieces. But the incredible fluidity of our subjective experience tells us that thoughts cannot be quantified in this manner. If we are very good at examining our subjective reality, for example, we can see that a single thought can contain all the information you could find in a book. And yet, this one thought, as we can discover through eternal exploration, could be broken down into many thoughts that are together the gestalt of that makes up this one book thought. Moreover, these individual thoughts that make up the sum of what we consider the original bigger thought are not bound by our ideas of size and complexity. Each one of these individual thoughts that make up the original should, using our logic, be smaller. But this is not necessarily the case. For example, we could have a specific thought that describes a particular character in this book. This new thought which makes up our larger book thought, should be smaller. But in the world of thoughts, it could actually be a bigger sum of information and perhaps be far more complex. Thoughts, then, are highly complex, energetic units of information that can morph and weave into different kinds of informational units, which as a result of this flexibility can create a vast, near infinite information matrix. Size is also not a factor, since the smallest possible part of a larger thought can also contain a near infinite amount of information. This makes our subjective reality unmeasurable using current logic and therefore beyond the grasp of modern science. And as a result, science classifies human subjectivity as a storm of dark unconsciousness, drives that must be kept in check through conscious reasoning. Because of the type of sensory perception that we have, we tend to classify thoughts as either being pictures, feelings, sounds, perhaps even taste or smells. But this is a limit to what thoughts really are and how much information they can contain. It could also be said that thoughts exist outside of physical reality. But this would not be accurate because it is thoughts that make up what we consider physical reality. Thoughts, to scientific dismay, can affect what we consider physical or objective reality. When thoughts affect objective reality, we use definitions like intuition, will, or perhaps even synchronicity, luck. But in all these definitions, what is really going on is that a complex gestalt of thoughts is created, which creates certain effects that we can detect through our sensory perceptions. When many large gestalts of thoughts come together and weave into greater patterns, we begin to perceive these patterns as physical reality. Those that practice occult, magical techniques, and those that currently believe in the power of the law of attraction are essentially manipulating their subjective realities in order to try to manipulate their objective ones. A servitor is a method of using subjective reality by focusing and directing intensified thought in order to create objectives, physical results. Besides our current logical frameworks, one of our biggest problems is understanding the world of thought and the subjective realm. This lies in our perception. We are only able to identify a small portion of what the world around us really is. We are only able to identify a small portion of what thoughts really are because our conscious minds and our sensory organs are not capable of grasping everything that a particular thought is. While I do not wish to digress too far from the original topic, I believe that you require a certain amount of information in order to process what thoughts and therefore what thought forms are and can be. In order to understand what a thought form is, you must understand that thoughts are the basis of everything that you experience in physical reality. You must realize that thoughts are, in essence, a very complex information matrix, and that we are not able to completely comprehend the totality of what any particular thought is in a conscious way. As physicists have known for a very long time now, time does not exist as we think it does. We perceive time as a series of chronological events with a past and a future moving in a straight line, sort of like the way we read the words on this page. But time actually exists all at once. You could say that it is infinite now, a spacious present. Our ideas of time come from our inability to perceive all the information of this infinite present on a conscious basis, our inability to perceive the full complexity of thoughts. The conscious mind cannot perceive very much at once and would not be able to comprehend all the information available from an infinite now. It does, therefore, what it was designed to do. It gravitates towards certain information while leaving most of the rest untouched, and processes this information in a linear fashion. We do the same thing with thoughts, since thoughts are essentially what time is, what this infinite spacious presence is. The parts of thoughts that we perceive, that is, the parts of reality that we consider real, we organize in a linear, sequential fashion. This sequential order we call time. The only way that we can currently understand information, thoughts, reality outside the limited perception of our sensory organs is to use the idea of frequencies or dimensions. In that sense, just like sound, thoughts, therefore, could be said to have different frequencies, and each frequency represents a certain perceived aspect of our shared reality. At their most ethereal frequencies, thoughts can be considered mental images or ideas. As the frequencies become more solid, in our opinion, thoughts could be considered something like emotions, or emotions generating ideas. As the frequencies of thoughts comes closer to what we would consider physical reality, these thoughts then could be called beliefs. Beliefs become assumptions, and these assumptions soon become facts. Within short order, under favorable conditions, facts become objects or events in which we call physical reality. A fantastic example of this logic is the Higgs boson particle accelerator at CERN. A thought form, therefore, is an intentional thought, one that has been intentionally designed. A thought form, moreover, is a thought whose frequency is adjusted so that it goes from being a very ethereal mental experience to one that can actually begin to affect and partake in physical reality. A thought form is a thought whose frequency can be changed. It is essentially a thought that begins to attain physical form. Please don't worry if this all sounds cryptic or complicated. The reality is that creating a servitor is an easy and natural affair. You could say that we do it quite naturally all the time. In the next few chapters, we will discuss how easy creating a servitor can be. This chapter can, and the extra information provided in this manuscript is here so that you can have a more grounded understanding for when you start to create your own servitors and begin to realize the possibilities of these creations. The existence of servitors poses a number of implications that can have some people question many aspects of their personal reality. I'm hoping that you can find the answers in some of those questions here. This is cool stuff, and you're going to see. Anyway, I'll let the author say this. What can a servitor be used for? A servitor can be used for just about anything you can imagine. This is perhaps the best thing about servitors. They truly allow the power of our imaginations to work in tandem with the power of thought to create just about any desired result we want. A servitor is really a fantastic creation that we design ourselves in order to satisfy a need. We design a servitor using the imagination. Nothing is beyond our imagination, with it we can travel to the ends of the universe or into the depths of our inner self. Truly, the only thing that might confine our imagination is our creativity. But beyond this, there is nothing that we cannot do with it. Over the years, I have created many different kinds of servitors, and their shapes and names have sometimes even surprised me. I have one, for example, that is quite dear to me. He is a conglomeration of scales and giant spines. He can emit an incredible, powerful roar that it uses to good measure when it needs to. Even though he is a terrible sight to behold, he is my friend and does a wonderful job of keeping me safe from anything or anyone that would want to cause me harm. He was specifically designed in order to protect me, but I have found that his form and power tend to grow over time, very much like an actual living being, evolving as my desires do. Because he has been with me for a long time and because I love him so, he has grown in power and capability. In the same way, you might begin with an original design and a specific intention, but this might evolve over time as your needs expand and as your servitor becomes more powerful with use. That is another amazing thing about servitors. They become more powerful the more you use them. The better the results you get, the more successful servitors become, the more confident you are becoming in using them, and the more powerful that they get. Every time that you use them, you charge them. With each charge, they also grow in power and form. This is our powers as creators. Our thoughts affect our entire world, and though our thoughts, we are also the creators of new worlds. Our thoughts go forth and continue to exist even after we, the creators, have created them. Our thoughts continue to exist and evolve in other dimensions, frequencies that are for the most part outside our range of perception. We can choose to maintain and empower certain thoughts with a little extra, something we call form. We can choose to maintain certain thoughts, form thoughts, which then with them create a new type of life. Our servants, our companions, are highly charged intentions. A servitor can be used for protection like I have done with the one mentioned above. You can also create servitors in order to gain wealth. You can even create a servitor just for company. I know a person, for example, that has created a servitor in order to become more attractive to the opposite sex. Okay? His thought form works in many ways just like a lamp. His servitor is essentially a glowing lamp that exudes a very pleasant but intense red light. This light is not just light. It is also erotic sensuality in its most ethereal form. In other words, his servitor exudes sexuality. Exudes it like a lamp shoots forth light. Moreover, the servitor is always with him. That is, when he wants to be around, so that whenever he wishes to attract members of the opposite sex, he will call upon his servitor and have it glow brightly with sensuality. I have seen the creature in action myself and can testify to the fact that it works very well. The only caveat would be that since it tends to just exude this erotic energy, whenever he brings the servitude somewhere, it tends to heat up everything in the place indiscriminately. It does make for a fun evening, though. I want that. I want to try that lamp. I mean, yeah. All right. We'll continue. We're almost finished with this chapter. Wow. A servitor can have powerful tentacles or butterfly wings. It can be very cute or it can be very fierce. It can be a rather amorphous blob or it can be a highly intricate being. You can even create a servitor that is really a copy of something else. For example, you can create a servitor that could be a Pokemon character, for example. Whatever design that you choose, make sure that it is something functional so that the creature that you are making has not just pretty form, but it also has function. These are just a few examples of what a servitor might be used for and what it might look like. In the next chapter, I will specifically tell you how to create a servitor, but I hope that some of these ideas start your imagination churning so that you can create a thought form specifically for what you have in mind. As I said, there is no limit to what you can create. Think of servitor creation like a game. You use your imagination and creativity to design a creature that will inspire you to mental action. I hope that You stay away from the thought forms that could be considered negative and destructive. There is no morality here. Remember that. No morality. I think sometimes people can't exist in that. They got the duality. Well, what if there's just neutral? I just wish to provide information that will ultimately help you get what you truly desire, which I think is the personal happiness. Warlike thoughts, forms, are sort of like having a pit bull or a gun that they can sometimes be very hard to control. Believe me, when I tell you that the last thing that you want is to have a rogue thought form running around your house at night, scaring your family. I personally suggest that you become very good at controlling and maintaining your own servitor, one that provides fun and fulfills a basic desire before you start trying to rule the world. Wow. That's pretty wild stuff. I mean, aren't we doing that already? Yeah, we are. We seriously are. I mean, and I read this stuff, and it's like having, the organizational chart, and it's like you fill in all the squares, and you're going, I knew this when I was a kid. Like Trina, I love the fact, knew it when she was came into this. Many of you have. Many of us have gotten off track because we were told it was wrong. No, stay away from that. What do you think you're doing, Steiger? That is just of the devil. You are going to go to hell for getting involved in that stuff. Well, I think Billy Joel said it best. What did he say? I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. So anyway, this is just far out stuff, folks. I mean, it really is. And we're learning. Tomorrow, we're going to get into the next two. When you find out how this is done, you're going to go, many of you, I would say, to predict is ridiculous, but I could say that many of you are going to get a hold of this, and you're going to be telling this community how things have changed around it. You use the favor invocation, and we'll use it tomorrow. That is a servitor. Maybe I should have told you that, but that's why when you perform the favor ritual, the cleansing, it's very important that you have it well established up here. And then when you actually go and do the action and invoke it, it charges it. Let's see. What did you say? Wayne, did you find out about your hoodie information? Not yet. Hey, Eric, how you doing, my friend? Yeah, there you go, Eric. Many of us know. Hey, Carol, how are you doing? Lawrence of Aragon, how are you? Paul, good to see you. And Cosmic Convergence, much love. Emperor Rex, so good to see you. Skywatcher, good to see you. Robert, hello. Lucky Stone, I haven't seen you before. How you doing? This is pretty cool stuff. Thank you, David. It does work. I mean, last night would have been the ideal time to do that. It was the full moon was at its peak power, and a little headway. We're going to learn about this, but make sure you put your talisman, your sigils, amulets, put them out to where, like we had here, we had clear skies all night. The longer you let that moon energy soak into them and recharge them, it works. It really does. I mean, and I don't know. It's a fact. Let's see what other people are saying here. Well, thank you, Lori. So good to thank you. That's very kind of you. Say hello to the invisible friend. Now I'm getting, who was that? The actor. I know the movie. Al Pacino. Yeah. Welcome to my little friend. Well, they're here. They're here already. We have found out through psychic vampirism, and we was reading and, learning about the things that we can do. This is part of the psychic protection of beginning to understand that we can combat that which we have so often been victimized by, that we always are affected by how the wind blows and how it just seems like there are events. My wife and I had an episode on Saturday, but we were able to begin to transmute a series of events that in the old days would have escalated to a crisis. Well, we completely diffused it to where that energy came back as a warmth, as a solution. And it works, folks. It really does. I know. I experiment on myself and my wife all the time. And she's hip to it, But anyway. All right, folks. Thank you so much. I'll be here tomorrow. We're going to finish this up. And I look forward to Wednesday's conversation with Trina to see what we can come up with on this. Thank you, Julianne. You are beautiful, my dear. Terry, same to you. Nina, the mystic. So good to see you as well. All right, folks, far out. I've kind of gone over a little bit. I respect your time, and we'll see you tomorrow. This is far out stuff. That's all I got to say. All right, be kind to yourself.